Hello, Bat and Kill friends and fans. If you're joining us tonight for Live from the Mill, you know the drill. We're going to have people trickle in over the next few minutes, including our guests. We will have Mary Jean Packer joining us actually live from the mill. And for those of you who are new, my name is Hannah Howard. I am the communications director for Bat and Kill, and I'm usually on these calls. Although the last one I missed because I was out of town. We've got our guests, and I'm going to check to invite Mary Jean as well. There they are. Hey, Cyrus.
Hi.
And Laura.
Hi.
Hello. You guys are quick on the draw. You just popped right in here.
We're all
And I think
ready.
I see Mary Jean too. Hopefully she's able to pop in here as well. So exciting. Oh, thank you so much, Kat. Kat's talking about my hair. I chopped a bunch of it off. And it's fun. It's different. I like it too. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody joining us for tonight, Live the Mill. Again, I'm Hannah, live from Mill. I'm Hannah Howard, and the person actually live from the mill is right below me. This is Mary Jean Packer, the owner of Bat and Kill Fiber Mill. And then we have our special guests for this evening, Laura and Cyrus from Muriel of Vermont. So we are super excited. Mary Jean, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, thanks, but I'm having a little technical difficulty.
Okay.
It keeps saying to me, do I want to be in the live video?
Oh, well, yes, you do.
Isn't that a little weird? How do I make that go away?
I'm not sure. I would just ignore it if it's not, because it's not showing up for us. So I would just pretend it's not doing that.
I don't think she ignored it.
Can we
say
hi to people watching?
Yeah.
Hi, Norma.
Yes. Yes. Say hi to those folks joining us. Mary Jean, I'm sure we'll be back in a second once we figure out what's going on her end. We'll get that sorted out. In the meantime, I thought I would go ahead and share some upcoming events that we'll be attending. The Southern Adirondack Fiber Festival is coming up September 23rd. And then we've got Vermont Sheep and Wool. This will be a drop-off only show. You can drop off wool with us, with our partner, Kingdom Fleece and Fiber, Liz Conway. You can drop off fiber with her. That's October 1st. That way you don't have to drive all the way from Vermont or New Hampshire or even Maine, all the way to the mill for drop-off. And as always, you can find us at Rhinebeck, October 21st and 22nd. So that is, I can't believe we're thinking all the way into fall already.
I know.
That feels unbelievable to me because summer just hit. I'm hoping Mary Jean can join back with us, but we'll just continue on, sojourn on until she can. We have some pretty exciting upcoming Live from the Mills and community Zooms. Next week, Mary Jean, Carol, and I are headed to H&H. Are y'all going to H&H in Chicago? No, you're not. Okay, for those of you who are not familiar with what H&H is, it is an industry show that is geared towards talking about the trends in textiles, and Mary Jean and I are going along with Carol and Gail from Cornwall Yarn Shop and other designers and yarn creators and textile makers from all over the country will be there, and they're displaying all kinds of cool new stuff. So we're going to come back and have a trend report on that next week's community Zoom at the end of this month. And then we've got some pretty exciting Live from the Mills coming up over the summer. We haven't finished scheduling everyone yet, but I know that Mary Jean's going to come on and talk to me about Bat and Kill fiber tours. And I will definitely be popping on to talk about the new Common Threads publication with the Hudson Valley Textile Project. So if either of those is piquing your interest, go ahead and poke around our website for more information in the meantime, or wait for the Live from the Mill dedicated to that topic, probably in July or August. But tonight's Live from the Mill welcomes Laura and Cyrus from Muriel of Vermont. And they've already said hi, but go ahead and say hi again.
Hi. And Hannah, we also want to introduce our
This is our colleague, Tia.
Okay. Hi, Tia.
Nice to meet you all.
She's our intern, and she's wearing the tank that she already designed and made.
Oh,
Her
wow.
first week on the job.
What a way to jump in there.
Yeah, it's called the Tia tank.
So cute. And is that a new one that's going to be offered on your website soon?
Yeah, pretty soon.
Oh.
As soon as we figure out the sizing.
What is it made out of? Which yarn?
So that is a blend of hemp and
Eco
Vero.
Oh, we're just pin drafting your hemp wool blend right now.
Oh, yay!
So it won't be too much longer on it.
Yeah, that's.
Although we need Tia to come and work here part-time too.
Tia, did you hear that?
If she can design and knit a tank in 1 week, she ought to be able to spin all your yarn in just a matter of hours.
There's love a tour, Mary Jean. Yeah. Love to see the hemp processing.
Yeah, the new machines are really amazing.
Cool. We'll show you some of the hemp wool blend flash for us. So we can have some tanks.
Fantastic. So for those who are joining us and don't know what you do, could you tell us a little bit about Muriel's of Vermont, the name, the history? I love this section of your website. I spent a lot of time reading it, but it's always better coming from you guys.
Thanks. You want me to start? Well, I have to say that it started in some ways with a conversation I had with Mary, and I was doing research to figure out what we could do to add value to the fiber that I'm seeing in the and Mary Jean said, "Well, there's someone in New York with an industrial knitting machine that's making sweaters out of local fiber. There's no reason." In typical Mary Jean fashion. So I was like, oh, okay. So we did. We looked into industrial knitting machines, and I believe, Mary Jean, that one was a Stoll, but we got a Shimaseki, and we'll show you the machine later. But yeah, so and we did it because I grew up in Vermont, and I just was disturbed by the number of farms that we continue to lose, and so I wanted to do something about adding value to agricultural products in Vermont. And of course, we quickly, grew into New England yarn and some New York yarn, and so we get wool from local farmers. That's how we started. We got it spun at some of the green spinnery, some of it with Mary Jean, and then in the summer we use a cotton blend. It's a blend of organic and recycled cotton. So Cyrus and I are wearing some of our summer styles, and we get that from Spain, where they've been recycling fiber since right after World War II, when there was such scarcity in Europe. They developed this technology to recycle fiber, and of course now with everyone being concerned about consumption, they've really expanded that. And Cyrus went to see their facility this past summer, spring, I guess. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and now we're branching into other fibers as well. So Tia is the tank is a blend of hemp and what is it? Eco Vero. Yeah.
And if I'm remembering correctly, Eco Vera is a more eco-friendly version of viscose.
Yeah, it's a luxurious, sustainable version of it. Really cool.
I actually just got a shirt in the mail that's Eco Vera, and it feels amazing. So
it is.
Yeah, it's so light. It feels like nothing. It's so soft. I love it.
Oh yeah. So you can.
I'm just over here taking my notes. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So after Mom was doing research into industrial knitting, we kind of figured that I could jump on board with some technical history, I guess. Just kind of being able to figure out how to design sweaters and operate an industrial knitting machine. And then once we, I guess, committed, we started taking meetings with knitting machine companies in New York, and found the one that we wanted. And then started being a business, started making sweaters, and we named the company Muriel's after my Nana, mom's mom. Her name was Muriel, and she was a big proponent of buying local, and she was a big hand knitter, and a big advocate for Vermont agriculture. So we thought it would be a nice spot after her. Been sweaters. I mean, like Mom said, we kind of started with local wool, branched out since then, but really, I mean, the mission is all about slow fashion. Sustainability wool is a big part of that for us. Yeah, we're excited to keep going.
That's so cool. And you guys have been Hudson Valley Textile Project members for a while too, right?
Yeah, actually, that was just recently that we tapped into that valuable resource.
Yeah, it's awesome to kind of see everybody sort of in the region getting together through the different organizations and seeing what everyone is doing. One of the things that I love most about your line is that the pieces are designed to last for a long time, and so they're very classic designs. Do you want to talk a little bit about your design process and kind of where you draw inspiration from?
Absolutely. Well, Cyrus can design. It's a computer software that he uses, and the inspiration is what is it? Yeah. We just go online to find styles that we like, but they're simple and classic because that happens to be my personal taste, but also that's the easiest to design and knit on this knitting machine, because it's a whole garment knitting machine. So that means the garment comes out of the machine like a 3D printer. So it's it keeps the designs fairly simple. But here I can well, not simple, but I mean clean lines and everything.
I mean, so the thing is, like, part of the simple designs comes from the fact that we're using local wool, and it's been a fun process to kind of figure out how to effectively use the wool that we want to use on level. So this machine, it's like a lot of companies that use these similar machines, their yarn is very, very uniform, and it's usually fairly thin and pretty strong. And so we've been trying to push the limits of like what we can do with local wool, and also keeping it, consistent, right? And keeping it something that we can continue to produce. So that's where a lot of design come from, is finding things that are like timeless pieces in wool that are simple, that the machine can handle with the local wool that we're trying to use. And then like
a lot of factors.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. And there's a lot of factors in like programming the machine to handle the wool. There's not always a perfect science. Sometimes things break, and a lot of times you have to learn from mistakes better. But that's been one of the biggest challenges, but also one of the most exciting things is figuring out like the potential for local wool. And then, like, if you've noticed on the cotton styles, we get a little more, I don't want to say creative, but a little more wild with the patterns, like basket weaves and mist stitches, things like that. So we do a cabled in the wool. Definitely our trickiest style. Been working better recently. Part of that is me growing as a designer and programmer. Part of that is having a good team behind us, involved in this thing, that we can, really pull it together. So yeah, we can do a tour.
Yeah. But I was just gonna say, but it's a good point, Hannah. Like if you think of fast fashion, then the designer has a vision, and then the team goes, searches the globe for the fabric, the fiber, to kind of realize that vision. But what we do is we start with the fiber and we think, oh, now what can we do with this fiber? So we've kind of turned it on its head. Even the cotton, we found recycled cotton, so that's what we wanted to use, and so we're designing styles that work with that particular fiber.
No, I love that. It's all built around the textile.
Yeah, exactly. So here you go, Cyrus. Do you want to show them your computer? Okay.
While you're doing that, let me say that stitch-wise, I think there's a lot of potential to use other than stockinette as your programming evolves. When you have thick and thin or little slubby places that come from having fiber that's the wool they're using is mainly from meat breed sheep that are utility shorn. This is not high-end, low micron wool from New Zealand. This is from hill farms in Vermont, where farmers are they're making a living off of raising lambs for the meat market and then selling the wool almost as an afterthought or a byproduct. And we do our very best to make it uniform, but as the fact of the matter, it ranges from 3 inches to 5 or 6 inches, and that's what ends up when we spin it to have thick and thin spots. I find in hand knitting, Cyrus, and when I'm hand knitting with yarn like we're making for you, if I use something other than stockinette, like moss stitch, seed stitch, even reverse, just inside out stockinette stitch, that it really changes those thick and thin spots aren't as apparent. And so that may be another workaround to try to make the most out of farm yarn.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think we'll have more flexibility with this second machine, because we're getting a second machine at the end of this month, actually, and it's going to be a lower gauge machine, so it'll take the thicker yarns, and it'll be easier for Cyrus to, do some of these fancy stitches. Because right now, the fingering weight, we're just barely able to run that in this machine. And so it's hard for him to do like those other kinds of stitches with this wool that we're using. But yeah, I think when we get to the other machine, we'll have a little more flexibility.
Yeah, no, I definitely different stitching acts differently in the machine. So we're always trying to figure out what looks best and what works best.
What I really do love, all the stitches aside, is your philosophy of whole sweater and utilizing whatever ends up coming our way through that farm that comes here, what comes back to you, to wasting nothing. And from a sustainability standpoint, that's just amazing, the leadership that you all are showing, because so often in the knit industry has been cut and sew. I mean, the easy way out is sit there running the machine all day making yard goods, knitted yard goods, and then once you've made them, cut the shape you want and sew it together. But there's so much waste, like almost half a garment sometimes is waste in that regard. And your investment in the machine, your investment in learning to make that machine use every yard of yarn, it's just incredible what that means to sustainability, and the leadership you've shown to do that is very admirable.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're trying our best.
But also we couldn't afford, right? With it's all local. I mean, if we were buying the superwash stuff from China, like that's one thing. But with the wool we're using, we can't afford to waste any of it, right? Because it's produced locally, and people are making livable wages producing it. And yeah, but it's true. That's a definite benefit of the machine.
So let's go through the process.
Yes, so cool. I know people are going to be excited to see this.
So it all starts right here. This is the design software. It's patented by Shimaseki. Don't steal it or they'll sue you. And basically you start in kind of a size chart here. Like that. And I kind of go through and create sizes based on kind of the silhouette of the style. I have control over different.
Can you read that?
It's going to be a bit small because most people are viewing on their phone screens. But guys, if it's a little small for you and you want to rewatch later, it will be up on YouTube and you can watch it larger.
Okay.
Yeah, so I go through here to create like the silhouette and then kind of a base size. We usually start with a women's medium because that's what mom wears, and a men's XL because that's what I wear. And there's a few cool features like here when you input courses in whales. So basically what you do is you finish a garment and you let it dry and you do the finishing process that you're looking for, conditioner, vinegar soak, things like that. And after all that, you count the courses in whales or the stitches in rows and columns in a square inch. And then the computer software calculates shrinkage. And so that way, when I come in to put in these sizes here on the next page, it's calculating for the size after finishing. So theoretically, that way, when this says 21 inches long, it's going to be 21 inches long after mom's finished it and soaked it and everything like that. So it'll probably come out of the machine more like 25 inches or,
So it's a big swatch.
Well, I try and knit a small swatch. I try and knit, I don't know, probably 6 square inches to
That's
test
a good
out.
size swatch.
Yeah, it's a good way to test out new types of yarn. You get a feeling for how soft it's going to be when you finish it. The courses in whales in a square inch. Also, it's a good way to start getting the machine ready to run the yarn. You kind of have to reprogram the machine for each new type of yarn. Things like loop length and takedown will really affect how well a sweater comes out. Like if the loop length is too big, the stitches will pile on top of each other and it'll drop stitches. If the loop length is too small, they'll start breaking. Same with the takedown. Too much, not good. Not enough, not good. This is some programming stuff for some of the more intricate parts. Well, some of the details, I guess, in the sweater. You have choices in hems, different types of ribbing, purl stitch. Then also you can do a user stitch, which is basically I'm going to program my own pattern into the hem. So here's a structure you can put on the body, collar, and then these are things like stitching alignment under the arms. It's basically how much tension the yarn's going to go through and what kind of bind off it's going to create under your arms and your narrowing process. So, if you're have a bell sleeve or it comes in the waist, or like this, like that. Well, anyways.
Well, that's amazingly versatile. It's like the only limit is to your imagination, really. It does so much.
Yeah, and the yarn, Cyrus says. But yeah. Yeah. You can start with boat neck, turtleneck, V-neck, drop sleeve, inset sleeve.
So then this is where kind of the magic happens, I guess. This is the actual design side of, the first page is great because you establish a solid silhouette, kind of the shape of your garment and the size. But then this is where we put on fun things like ribbing or, patterns in the neck. Well, here are the Tia tank that Tia just designed. It looks something like that.
There it is.
It's a little crazier. But basically, each one of these squares represents a stitch, so it's a grid system. The red squares are front jersey. The green squares are reverse jersey or stockinette, reverse stockinette. Depends on who you're talking to, I guess. But just to kind of give you an idea, like that sweater is.
And this is your wool, Mary Jean.
This sweater right here. So,
Great, good.
So cool. So the green and the red represent like the pearls and the knits, essentially.
yeah. So
Yeah.
if you want to come,
Yeah.
So you can get like the visual overlay at a quick glance.
So this is the ribbing.
Mm-hmm.
Look at a sleeve. This is the bottom of the sleeve. So then if you look at the garment, I mean, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes more sense than if you were planning a whole line of Grinchy sweaters for this year.
Right.
For Christmas. Some neon green and red.
I want to show you this beautiful wool.
Yes.
Isn't that gorgeous? That's the one where you blended the white and the dark, Mary Jean, to get this gray.
That looks so nice.
It is. It's very thick. It's our last one left from the winter.
Yeah, and then there are some things like arm where it connects the left arm to the body. Well, where it connects the sleeves to the body. There are design things in here that you can go through and adjust to kind of make it run as smooth as possible. This page is also for adjusting different parts of the sweater. This is more technical. This is where you get into like your narrowing processes and your bind offs.
So explain those colors.
So basically everything on this side of the screen here is what we call packages, and each package represents a function in the sweater. So it's one of these will represent the neck bind off, one of these will represent underneath the arm, one of these will represent the neck itself.
So these are the instructions to the machine.
Well, these are the instructions to me.
Oh.
The instructions to the machine are on the next page. So I mean, just to give you an idea, like this small line is like 75% of the garment.
How long did it take for you to learn this?
He's still learning.
Still learning. Yeah. We've come very far though. So
It's just amazing. You did not go to college for this, is that right?
Go to college for anything, actually.
And he was supposed to go to Japan for training, but because of COVID, he couldn't go. So he's been the tech people are really supporting him, but he's self-taught, more or less. He's going to go to Japan next year, hopefully.
Good.
Yeah. So and then
They'll come back and do some really cool stuff.
That's the idea. On a new machine too.
Yeah.
So these three views, I mean, basically this represents the front, this one represents the back, and then this one is the two of them laid on top of each other. And so once the software reads all of these compressed patterns and the packages that go along with them, it comes up with this developed pattern. So this is what the machine reads. It's kind of hard to tell, but this is a sweater. And it's a sweater basically split so that you see what the front row is knitting and what the back row is knitting.
Wow.
And I will explain why that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you want me to move over to the machine, Cyrus? Yeah, the dog wants to get in. Jeff wants to be on the Instagram Live.
All good.
Yeah, so basically this is what the machine sees, and this is how it starts to run a sweater, and it'll start from the bottom. So these crazy colors down here are a setup course to get the yarn ready, and then once it hits these reds and greens, that's when it'll start knitting the sweater. Basically the way the machine works is let's see here, when it goes one way, it knits a sleeve, a body, and then a sleeve. And then when it comes back the other way, it knits the back row. So it'll come sleeve, sleeve, sleeve.
Because
With one
it's
carrier
working the whole sweater.
Yeah, exactly.
6 and 5. And then it'll go body, 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 body. Sorry, sleeve, sleeve. And then when it comes back the other way, it'll go sleeve, 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 body, 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 sleeve, sleeve, sleeve. And we can go watch that happen.
Cool.
We're knitting a cotton sweater right now. Oh yeah, here we go. Hold on. I can't back up far enough to see the whole thing. Here, how about if I do this?
No, it turns
No,
it
turn
sideways.
it the other way. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just get us a close up of what the machine head is doing as it passes by. That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder, can I? Okay. So this is the control panel for the machine. We come here to load the style file, and then the yarn file. So there's two files. One is for the design, one is for the setup of the machine and how it's going to interact with the yarn. So I have a file for wool. Well, sorry, I have a file for one type of wool, another type of wool, cotton, hemp, anyways, yeah. And then a file for like turtleneck, roll neck, etc. And then it's also where we come and we mess with things like loop length. So as it's running a sweater, each section of the sweater is assigned a loop address. And then these numbers are, I think, millimeters of loop length. And you can change them depending on what you're running.
And by loop, you mean stitch.
Yeah.
You mean the stitch around the needle.
So can you see those stitches right there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So it determines how thick, how large it's gonna make that loop as it comes through and it knits this needle right here. Yeah. So this is the knitting machine. These are needle beds. So the way it works is it has two needle beds, one in front and one in back. And the front needle bed knits the front course, and then the back needle bed knits the back course. And these are all like.
Someone in the comments is asking if you can take the top post area. Take a video of the top post area.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to get an overview.
Okay.
This is the whole thing. And what happens is, so these three cones are what we're running right now. So we're doing a cotton sweater. And so this one is going to be for the body. This one is going to be for the right arm as it's coming out of the machine, left arm as you're wearing it. This is for the other arm. And then it comes up through these things. So the one nice thing about this machine is it's got a lot of little sensors on it. Most of the time it'll stop before anything major goes wrong. It tries to stop before we waste a sweater. It usually does a pretty good job of that. One of the things is these sensors here. So they kind of just, when the yarn comes through, if there's a slub or if there's a knot or any kind of change in the thickness, it'll stop the machine so I can try and cut it out or run it through slowly, or, you know, whatever we have to do to get it to keep running. So then after it comes through there, it goes through these guys, which are called the IDSCS systems. And I don't really know what that stands for, but what they do is they measure the yarn as it's going through. So as the yarn runs through, it spins through these wheels, and these wheels measure basically yards, like yards per minute, kind of, and also the thickness of the yarn. So it'll adjust this sensor here will detect the thickness of the yarn, and you have to run a loop routine before like after changing yarn, you have to run what we call a loop routine, and that's these systems calibrating to different types of yarn. So it also kind of, like, if there's changes in characteristics of the yarn, usually these guys can pick that up. And then the yarn comes, so we still have our 3 carriers, 1, 2, 3, and then it comes down through here, and then they go into the knitting bed, into the needles, and it gets strung through these guys, which are yarn carriers. These ones that I'm showing here are not doing anything. They're not engaged. But that guy is. So you can see the yarn comes through and it goes down through and into that carrier. And so this carrier is knitting the right sleeve as you're looking at the machine, the left sleeve as you're wearing the sweater. And you can see the little loops it's been making in there. So, unless there's any questions, then I'm going to kind of show you how it works.
Yes, turn it on. The question we had was actually about how we could make you larger, and the answer is we can't until the replay. When you watch it on YouTube on your desktop, then it'll be easier for people to see.
Okay. So wait until this comes out on YouTube and you can see the knitting machine large and in charge.
Yeah.
But for now, I will do my best. Maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Oh, wait.
Don't turn it horizontal.
No. Don't go sideways. Okay.
Yeah, well,
So you can see the sweater coming out at the bottom here. So we're probably like halfway through. And then we'll just give it a little, well, I'm going to do it kind of slow. So you can see it grab that carrier, and now it's doing the right sleeve, the body, and then the left sleeve. And then the back of the left sleeve, the back of the body, back of the right sleeve. Boom, over and over and over again.
Well, that is a lot faster than it would take me to complete that row.
Yeah, it just and that's like why yarn consistency from cone to cone is so important, because you can't have like some cones that were like thin or pale or something. The whole run has to be exactly the same, or else you end up with a sweater whose sleeves aren't the same.
That's actually something that we've run into in the past. We really love the idea of natural plant-based dyes, like indigos and greens and things like that. And so we got a lot of yarn dyed naturally. The issue is that it's not consistently dyed. It's hues of indigo. So if I accidentally go dark blue, light blue, dark blue, then you have a dark blue body and you have a light blue sleeve. Or if my dark blue runs out and I splice in light blue, then you have half a dark blue sweater and half a light blue sweater.
Actually, it looks kind of cool. But yeah, no, because we had Winona dyed a bunch of, and it's beautiful. But right, because she dyes in skeins and then puts it on combs, it's, you know, our garments take more than one skein, right? And so it was really hard to match. But we can show you here, Cyrus. I'll show you what we did do here.
You'd probably be better off doing garment dye. Make a white sweater and then send it to be dyed.
Yeah, that's something that we've talked about as well.
But I'm not sure what I will do to the, you know, to the finish. But yeah, so this is Winona's work. It is beautiful. And Mary Jean, this is your hemp wool blend. So you see the hemp takes it differently than the wool, which is why we get such gorgeous colors.
Really pretty.
But it's hard to, this one Cyrus matched pretty well, but some of them, you know, are two-toned.
Yeah, that's a real challenge. They're botanical colors out in Seattle. I had a great meeting with Amy Defoe, who's with I know her through Fibershed, and she's here in the East, even though she's like communications director for them out there. And she has offered to to try to work with us on this consistency issue. If we want to also try, I know it's a lot of mileage on cones to go from here to Seattle and back, but we may want to have when everyone's not watching us, have this chat on Instagram. Laura, you and I may want to hop on a call with Amy and Kathy and talk with them about the potential as well.
Okay, great. Yeah. No, we would love to. We would, love to have colors, but it's just really hard. One thing that Cyrus is doing now, we don't have an example, is he's putting, the dye yarn as trim on the white. Well, no, but
yeah, I love that.
It looks like this. This is cotton.
Yeah, so cool.
We put it the dyed on the white yarn. It looks really nice, like just this trim.
I like that.
So that way we don't have to worry too much about matching colors and get a nice.
That's a great solution. Yeah, see, you guys are you're leaders in this. Again, not wasting anything, of finding a way to utilize all these materials.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Cyrus showed you. So right, the garment comes out and like it's a whole garment. So like you say, Mary Jean, there's very little yarn wasted. Do you want to see some of our other garments here?
Absolutely.
I mean, this
Absolutely.
is out of the machine.
This is how. So that cotton.
This is the extra large.
I have to back up. I can't even fit it. You have to back up. I can't fit it in there. So this is extra large. But when I wash that and dry it, it'll shrink about a third. And
wow.
Yeah. Sorry, so you have an extra large finish, probably not. But so these are some of our. I didn't bring any of the cottons, but so Mary Jean, this was one of our first styles, and that's with Dave Martin's yarn that you spun for us. Yeah. So, and then this, of course, is the gray that is, beautiful. And then we also, as you know, get yarn spun at Green Mountain Spinnery. And so these are woolen spun. This is a vest. And this is, here, actually, if you hold the phone on. And then this is a roll neck. And of course, that's the other answer to the color solution is, this is the color of the sheep. So we try to get colors in the wool. Well, as you know, Mary Jean, because you're blending it for us too. But, and then this is 100% alpaca.
Beautiful.
Which I love, I know. And Mary Jean, if you know alpaca farmers, I mean, we've had this conversation before, but...
If there are any alpaca farmers watching, please reach out.
Well, there is
actually, I just got my hands on a nice clip of alpaca, but how is that working for you on stretching? I've other machine knitters that we've spun for want us to blend in some wool so their alpaca garment will hold its shape. They feel that without the wool, any wool at all, the alpaca just gets longer and longer.
Well,
and
I'll put this on. I really like the way this looks. I've been wearing this, which is why Tia's not going to get too close because I didn't get it washed before. But I mean, it definitely, it's different feel from the wool, and if there was wool in it, but it's, I mean, so this is this same style. This is the wool, and this is in the alpaca, and it's definitely a different look, but I really like it. I've been wearing this for, a year now, and washing it. I wash by hand, but so I like it.
We have an alpaca farmer watching who says in the comments that she would love to collaborate with us.
There we go. Yeah.
Your call is answered.
Yeah. So Liz has been working with you to spin us some alpaca wool blend. And
yes.
I'm looking forward to that. But I do think I would like to try some 100% alpaca, I do like the look and feel of this sweater.
So not all alpaca will make a uniform yarn. Some alpaca ends up not having much crimp, and when that happens, when we spin it, it ends up being pretty slubby. So the big issue is, how we're able to use less than first quality sheep's wool for our projects and save the really top quality sheep's wool for the hand spin market. And so in that way, we really help the farmers, the sheep farmers, by taking their lower grade wool. In the alpaca, it's pretty hard to make it a 100% alpaca when it's not their absolute best quality, because we have to have that uniform staple length and crimp from the first of the alpaca in order to make a uniform yarn. So that, I think that's going to be our biggest challenge with 100%. But we're game for anything here, and partnering with Elaine is a good. Woodland Meadow Farm has access to quite a lot of good quality alpaca, so it's definitely worth pursuing a 100% project.
All right. Maybe we'll start small. This is. You're right. This is what do they call it? Superfine. That sweater is top quality alpaca. So
yes.
So maybe it's and so we'd have to charge a lot for the sweater. But again, we're trying to get ourselves into markets where we can charge, what things are worth.
And speaking of where people can find your sweaters and check out the line that you guys have for spring and summer and fall, they can find you online at murielsvt.com, right?
Yeah, Muriel's of Vermont.
Muriel's of Vermont. Your Muriel's VT on Instagram.
Yeah. And then, we're in farmers markets here in Vermont. We're in Burlington, Grand Isle, Stowe, and this weekend, Tia and Cyrus are going to Boston for this. They have an outdoor market at the Seaport neighborhood. But this weekend coming is the last time we'll be there. Although we may do more with that same, those organizers that put that on. But and also there's going to be a slow fashion made in Vermont fashion show at the Hotel Vermont. Be at the last weekend of August, so we're excited about that. So it'll be us and other Vermont makers, but yeah, so that there'll be some new styles, and that'll be exciting. That'll be
when
fun.
is that
Send me
fashion
details.
show?
Yeah.
Yes.
We want to share that.
Yeah. So that's the last weekend in August. Last Saturday. I don't know, but I have to look at the date, and it's going to be an evening thing. There's going to be. So it's going to be outside, ideally, if it doesn't rain, or on their patio. There'll be music. And
August 26th.
Yeah, there you go.
And then there's going to be promo soon, so just keep an eye out, and we're getting on top of that.
Okay, we'll try to share it too as it comes through our inbox.
Yes, please do. We would really appreciate that.
Yeah, shoot it.
The Hudson Valley Textile Project has been talking about trying to do a slow fashion show. One of our advisory council members is a fashion designer, Mimi Prober, from New York City. And Gail, our president, has been talking not only with Mimi about guiding that, but also talking with one of our upcoming Gail Zucker photo shoot locations, which is at Glenwood in Cold Spring, New York, just outside of New York City, about how could we do a fashion show and dinner. So we're getting ready to copy the heck out of this project you're working on.
Yeah. No, I think, it stems from, of course, Mary Jean, what you've been trying to do, and I think we all need to, is like make it desirable, right? So it's not just sustainable, it's not just good for the farmers, but it can be like high fashion and completely, desirable to be wearing wool garments. And I think that's why it was so exciting to see at the Hudson Valley Textile Project that the designers there. But yeah. Tia's a design student, and she was saying that, they don't get a ton of this in school still in terms of slow fashion.
No, not at all.
And we've been working a lot with not just college students, but the textile projects also working with the high school, the career and technical ed. So there's fashion design and fashion merchandising at the high school level, and I'm trying to start right there with putting local materials in the hands of young designers so they begin to see the properties of these local fibers and can develop a set of realistic expectations about what 25 and 30 micron stuff can do, as opposed to what 17 micron stuff will do. It's a very big difference. The same with spinning. Our machines are capable of spinning, very, very fine yarn. The problem is the time and the space. We only have room for 2 spinners, and to spin the kind of fine yarn like a commercial sweater, it would take hours, and time is money here. We have to pay someone to watch those machines, so we end up having to make heavier yarn to get it done faster. And then you get down to the micron. I mean, we've hit that barrier first with some of this Vermont wool. It's 35 maybe micron, and we just can't spin it much finer than a 2-ply 3,500 yards per pound. Let's say that's just all the further it's going to go before you're down to one micron, one hair, not 1 micron, one fiber at a time.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting.
Yeah. No, but I think it's just a matter of changing attitude because, and we have, our sweaters are popular. I mean, young people my age. I mean, we have, a lot of different age range are buying these sweaters. And it's, and remember, I think I had this conversation with you, Mary Jean, in the beginning about, how soft, if it's not super, super soft, will people buy it? But we're finding that, people, they'll buy this. And a lot of young women who are spending a lot of time outdoors in the winter, or, everyone's turning their heat down, so they want to wear a sweater inside. I mean, I think that people will buy these sweaters.
They want
I know I'm motivated now to, I am not going into winter 23-24 without wearing one of those, a gray V-neck. Please earmark one of those for me. I need a gray V-neck.
Okay. As soon as you get us our yarn.
Oh.
They're holding your sweater hostage, Mary Jean. You gave them the leverage they needed.
That's right. I bet that hemp wool blend will be nice, Mary Jean. It'll be a nice weight sweater.
True. Yes.
It'll drape well, and it'll be a good, you'll be able to start wearing it in September, October.
Yeah, well, we'll have the hemp blend before we'll have the next batch of natural color blend. So maybe I'll have 2. I'll have my fall hemp blend, then my deep winter collection of my gray.
Right.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Well, Hannah, I noticed we've gone way over our usual time, but it's so interesting.
I think it's been great. I do think we have to wrap up and let people go eat dinner, whether we want to eat dinner or not. Before we have you guys go, definitely want to talk again about just those upcoming events. We've got the Southern Adirondack Fiber Festival coming up September 23rd. We have the Vermont Sheep and Wool Festival. That's going to be a drop-off only for us. You can drop off with Kingdom Fleece and Fiber October 1st, and Rhinebeck October 21st and 22nd.
And what are some dates for Muriel's of Vermont? Where will people see you this coming weekend at Boston Seaport? But where else will you be?
So we're every Saturday in Champlain Island Farmers Market and Burlington Farmers Market, and every other Sunday at Stowe Farmers Market. We are at big shows in the fall. I didn't write them down. For Indigenous Peoples Day weekend, we're at that big Stowe Craft Fair in Stowe, but we're also going to be in Woodstock that weekend. And I'm not sure we have it. We're in Meredith, New Hampshire. Actually, that coincides with the fashion show at Hotel Vermont. But one of us will be in Meredith, New Hampshire. But I'm trying to think. I don't think we have anything scheduled for New York right now. I don't know. I mean, we haven't been going to the yarn shows. I mean, like Rhinebeck and Sheep and Wool. Just because I don't know how we would do. I mean, maybe we should try. I think a lot of people there are looking for yarn that they can, hand knit, but we haven't tried those venues yet.
Well, it may be worth a try because a lot of people come to those festivals not fully understanding that they are geared toward makers. And more, I know, Hannah, we saw at Maryland Sheep and Wool, I'd say maybe even 25 or 30% of everyone who came in our booth was looking for ready-made.
I got a lot of people asking to buy samples.
Yeah.
I was like, no, not this one. This one's mine.
Maybe that's something we'll think about. And the New York, what's the one? Does it coincide with Rhinebeck? The New York, the craft. It's a craft fair too, right? Maybe I was looking at that. Maybe that might be.
There is a craft fair at the same location, but it's a different weekend.
Oh.
It's at the Dutchess County Fairgrounds, and it's just and craft fairs may really be the perfect niche.
Yeah.
So because then that's 100% people who are shopping for things that are artisan made, whereas Sheep and Wool, it just ends up with this percentage of them who want it, and then I don't know about you all, but I never bought many woven items until I took a weaving class. And when I found out how much work it was to warp a loom and make the edges straight and match your colors and weave in the loose bits, when I found that out, A, I never wove anything again, and B, I paid whatever a weaver asked from here on out. Never said, oh, could you take $100 for that? No, whatever, they got it marked 800, here you go, here's your 800.
Yeah, so I tried that, but yeah. So right now and we'll have the fall crafts show schedule up on our website, and we send our newsletter out.
And that website is Muriel's of Vermont.
Yep.
Yes.
All one word.
Hannah will list that all out in the show notes too.
Absolutely. Well, this has been so fun. Thank you for joining us and giving us a tour of your studio space and showing us sneak peeks of all the sweaters.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for inviting us. It's been fun.
Thanks for having us.
And thanks for all. I mean, thanks for all that you both do to promote.
Yeah, thank you, Mary.
Yeah. So we'll be in touch about dyeing and also about alpaca.
Yes, we'll be in touch soon to work on those details. Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye, all.